Previously on your favorite episode.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants!
Yeah. So the SpongeBob is a sponge.
SpongeBob SquarePants!
Hello, and welcome to a brand new edition of your favorite episode. I am your host, Jackie, and joining me is my partner and producer, Mickey. Our guest today has done just as much, if not more, research about her episode than me and Mickey combined. You might know her for her love of White Claw, but I know her because she's one of the coolest chicks I know, Tracy Polomski.
I want to get my notes. Hang on one second.
TV rots your brains.
That's absurd. TV only softens the brain like a ripe banana.
Television. Much of our future depends on the way we use this medium of communication.
Eventually, your favorite episode will be filmed in front of a live studio audience, but for now, we're not. So let's talk about a series. Okay, so yes, 100%, like before this week, I have never watched a Real Housewives episode, period, ever. At all. This was my first time.
You're welcome? Question mark?
It's like an interesting look at like a world that I've never seen. Like I've never seen that much plastic surgery in one place that wasn't like a Hollywood movie.
And the funny thing is, the episode that I had you watch is from what I think 2014.
Yeah.
So you should see some of the faces now. Some of their faces actually now.
Like if I watched a recent episode, is it the same people that were on the episode that we watched?
There are 3 of the ladies. So Luann.
Okay, Ramona, I like Luann.
Luann, Ramona, and Sonia are all still on, well, as of last season. New York has done a really interesting thing because last season didn't go over very well. You know, there's a lot of, like, cancel culture going on.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of things said by some insensitive older white women, privileged white women, to maybe some ladies of color, and they just don't go over well in the past few years, that they're just, so they kind of got canceled. So there's actually going to be, I believe, 2 different seasons for New York now. There's going to be a Legends cast, which will be some of these women, which I don't think actually Ramona is coming back. And then there's going to be a brand new cast of New York, like up and coming housewives.
Oh, Dip, that's nice. Okay,
Yeah.
So for like somebody who has zero, like I was, like someone who has zero idea, like what is Real Housewives of New York?
A mess. It is name brands, parties, high rises, you know, upper echelon, a lifestyle that really none of us would even fathom to have. I mean, to have a driver on a daily basis. I mean, to begin with,
that is the dream, though. That is my legitimate dream.
Well, to begin with, Sonia, her last name is Morgan. She married a Morgan.
Like a Morgan and Morgan?
No, JP Morgan of
shit.
New York.
Like the mustache guy.
Like she comes from, like, she married into a lot of money. So they have some money, these women. Like I mean, it's not like joking money.
Like JP Morgan is the Monopoly guy. Like they created a logo for Monopoly, the game, based on this guy because he
didn't know that.
ran monopolies. Like he owned, like him and 2 or 3 other guys owned America at one point.
So Sonia was John's 4th wife, as I did my research just now. So yeah, Sonia was, she's in the line of money, but that's where she has that huge townhouse in New York.
So was this like the first iteration of the Housewives series?
No, I believe Orange County was the first franchise.
And that's like California ladies, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah. So they have like Orange County, Beverly Hills. Some of the newest ones would be within the last 2 years would be Salt Lake City, which is very interesting because one of those girls is actually being indicted right now. She's supposed to be, she's going in for 15 years for fraud and embezzling. It's insane why you would go on a real, a reality show to have a business that scams people. I don't really understand that. And then I just caught up. So if you have Peacock, they have a few on the side where I just caught up with Housewives of Durban. So South Africa, which was really interesting.
I bet that is really neat.
It was really cool. I had to have the subtitles on because the accents are very thick. They all have different ones because there's some Middle Eastern accents and some South Africa. Then there's American. And then they float in between South African and American. And so I was I had to sit down and actually watch. I couldn't just do anything else.
Yeah, it's not a background noise version.
Yeah, it was not background noise. You had to watch it to follow it. But it was super interesting to see those women and some of their cultures, and how they are in society. It is interesting. But
do you know how the whole thing got started? Just some producer was like, "You guys are interesting. Let's film you."
Yeah, I think it was Andy Cohen started it all. I mean,
what? Wait a minute. I thought he was just the host of a show.
No, he was the producer. So he started with NBC and stuff. And then this is these are kind of spin-offs of brainchilds, I believe, of his. So
he's a secret mogul.
Oh my God. Yeah. Let's see how much he's worth.
He's got to be worth a lot. I thought he was just a talking head.
No.
Wow.
When Jackie was searching to pull this episode up, it was amazing that the entire screen filled up because there's also Atlanta and Miami and
Dubai,
Cohen, Salt Lake City, Orange County, Dallas, which Dallas is no more. They stopped that one. That one got cancel cultured as well. There's so many. So do you want to take a guess at how much he's worth? $50 million. It's $50 million. Yeah. I mean, that's I don't know. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I would not turn that down.
No. But
Okay,
I believe he was the brainchild. I believe. I could be wrong. I just sit and watch these at night. I don't really know all of the history of it.
We're gonna believe it until someone corrects us. So that is the canon for your favorite episode about Real Housewives of New York is that Andy Cohen created it.
Absolutely.
So can you give us a rundown of I feel weird saying characters because they're real people, but they are also kind of characters.
Yeah. I mean, they do call them the cast. So to be, they are paid. So they are a cast. So there is the main cast and then there's friends of. So what's really interesting is that Luann is actually a friend of this season. She is not one of the one of the cast members.
Luann is the one that wears turquoise all the time.
Yes.
Yes.
And the big necklace. Yes, and she has a deep voice, and she does cabaret.
And a really swingy haircut.
She has a very iconic haircut. It pretty much stays the same throughout a lot of seasons.
It's a good cut.
That's Luann. Yeah, that's a Luann haircut.
And throughout the show, they also call her the Countessa, and also Lou. And I have autism and ADHD, so we went back 3 episodes to try to kind of get a little bit of footing before we watched the episode that you assigned us. And it was very difficult because every time they'll go to the interview or confessional and the women look completely different than they do in the scene. And then they also look different than they do on the intro video coming in. And then they also have 8 different names that everyone calls each other. So I thought it was a cast of 1,000 at one point.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong with all the personalities that they all do bring to the table. So it pretty much is. Well, so it's funny that you say that, because a lot of the times when they do that, like, first intro, those main photos, they reuse those over a couple of years a lot of times too. So you'll notice that some have had additional plastic surgery that isn't showing up, in the photo.
Why does Ramona say turtle time in hers?
Oh, okay. So I was going to get to that. So Ramona, okay, so that is just a phrase she coined because she likes to drink wine. So actually Ramona came up with her own wine. She has a Pinot Grigio, and it just is her phrase, like, to drink and have fun with your friends. It's turtle time.
So it has nothing to do with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
It has not. Nope.
So disappointing.
It's just her being goofy and just something that she said that doesn't make sense. Turtle time. Well, so the Countess is called the Countess for a real reason. I mean, she married an aristocrat. So but then divorced him. So, but she still kept the title. So she was married to somebody. Yeah.
Somebody titled.
Somebody fancy that gave her a title.
Okay, so we have Luann and Ramona.
Yeah, and then you have Carol. So did you notice Carol? She reminds me a lot of Carrie from Sex and the City.
She reminds me of Cynthia Nixon from Sex and the City.
Okay.
Her voice and her face look like Cynthia Nixon so much to me.
So she was a Jordache jean model. Okay, thank you. You almost spit the drink out. I like that. And she also had relations to JFK Jr. She married into the family somehow. JFK Jr. So she was, at the funeral, she was married to Anthony Radiswell, who was his cousin, JFK Jr.'s cousin. So she would go to Christmas and parties, because they hung out together. So, like I said, these aren't just regular kind of rich women.
And we'll take a moment for we're hoping that some of our listeners are on, a little bit on the younger side. We know that we have a few Gen X listeners and stuff like that. But for the younger generation, there was a thing that happened 10, 15 years ago called the 1980s. And during the 1980s, there was a fashion line. Basically, there were Lee jeans, Levi jeans, and then Wrangler at Kmart or Walmart or stuff like that. And there were new companies that were trying to disrupt everything and come onto the scene. And one of those brands was called Jordache jeans, and they went after celebrities. I think. Wasn't Brooke Shields Jordache?
Mm-hmm.
I believe she was, yeah.
Yeah, when she was super young, I think.
Yeah. And then also during the 80s was JFK Jr. There's a picture of him saluting his father, who was a president, in case, you haven't studied history. And he grew up to be a very, his entire family was rich, and they all died a lot. So, with all those people... With all the people dying, the money, the money kind of pooled into JFK Jr.'s pocket, and he bought planes and magazines and stuff like that. So, and who he was dating was on the cover of magazines. Anytime he changed his underwear,
big deal.
It was on the magazine, and then. So he started his own magazine to talk about.
I was going to say, didn't he? Yeah, didn't he do? What was it, George? He started.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah. So Carol, she's hot to trot. She's not nobody, but she's also now a widow. So she's kind of navigating the city. She did, she married and he passed away. from some illness. So she's now, a 50-some-year-old widow, or maybe in her 40s back then. I don't really know. And then Heather, did you notice Heather? She keeps saying like, holla. She does that thing.
She annoyed the piss out of me.
Yeah, she likes to throw around that she's friends with Puff Daddy P. Diddy. I don't remember what he goes by at this point, but she works with him a lot. So she throws around his name a lot and tries to be super cool, but she's really annoying and really pretentious. And I know she likes to do that whole boss lady thing, but it's very looking down on her nose at other people while she's doing it, which I don't. She doesn't come off well in this season.
She doesn't use her words well at all.
I personally would not brag about being friends with the man that murdered Biggie Smalls.
That's a whole nother episode. Whole nother episode. So then you have Kristen, who, okay, did you hear her tagline? I mean, okay, so you listened to the taglines in the beginning, right? I mean,
yeah, I tried not to judge them by the taglines the first time we watched it, but I wanted to slap her the first time she said that shit.
You have to judge her by her tagline, because her tagline is, I may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm pretty. And the way she said, but I'm pretty, I get it, you're a model, and that's cool and all, but like,
you're like the same generation as me, I think. Did you watch The Real World when you were growing up? Okay, did you watch The Homecoming?
Yes. I watched New York's Homecoming, and then I watched the one with, I think it was LA.
Not New Orleans yet?
It might have been New Orleans. Wait, who was the blonde spiky boy?
New Orleans.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, the really Christian spiky boy. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so
yeah, I saw that one.
In the Real World New Orleans Homecoming, Kristen reminded me so much of Julie, the fucking Utah kid, because Julie was there and she was trying the whole time to make a show, and she was mad that people weren't making a show with her. And Kristen seems like she's really trying hard to get camera time and make a show. She doesn't seem interested at all in being real. And I felt like some of the other ones did feel like being real, but Kristen, interested in the camera and how she comes off 24/7. Well,
I also think that she didn't have much to talk about. I'm not like trying, my life is pretty boring on a daily basis too. So, I get it, but to continue, to have a storyline. So all she did was fight with her husband over him not coming home, which I'll be honest with you, in one of those episodes, I completely, felt what she was feeling. Like if she said, hey, come home, I'll be home at 6, and he's like, cool, whatever, and they made that agreement, and she's making dinner, and you complain she doesn't make you dinner, and then you're over a half an hour late and you don't even bother to message her, but then you just want to say, well, work was busier, then you can't have that fight of well, you're not doing this for me at home when I want it, you know what I mean? So I felt compassion for her, but I also feel like she just wants to argue with her husband and have no other storyline.
I felt compassion for her too, until they replayed the clip of him a million times later saying it wasn't that he wanted her to cook her dinner. He just wanted food on the table. He didn't say how it had to get there. And she wasn't listening to that part of what he was saying. She was listening to the part that was oh, I did a bad thing. I did wrong. And not oh, he just, he goes to work, maybe there's food at work.
The way he was talking to her on the phone, though, that one episode was embarrassing. That's when you take him off speakerphone and you walk away from the camera. Mm-hmm. That was super embarrassing when he when they were in the kitchen, she was in the kitchen and he was just yelling at her on the phone. I felt, that was a little bad, but that's where I'm I feel bad because everybody wants to say these are scripted, but are they? There is, a basis of whatever, but you get a tinge of reality in there, Yeah. They're actually surprisingly still together. I looked that up.
Wow.
Oh, look at your face. Shocked, aren't you? Yeah, they are still together. Yes.
My first reaction to listening to her talk is, this is a woman who wears a lot of makeup to cover up bruises. This is a woman that shops fashion to figure out how to cover up bruises because she looks like a woman that has been hit before.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially, I have no idea, but I know that, he's been on the camera. He's not been nice verbally. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't always translate into physical, but yeah, I mean, she doesn't wear the pants in the family, even though she wants to, but maybe she wears the pants in the shed. Because remember, she's not the sharpest tool in there, but
she's the prettiest.
She's the prettiest. Yeah. Well, so like not many of them are married. I mean, if you look at like Ramona, and it was like Ramona and her husband were doing this whole like weird, I don't know, Mario was singing to her in the one episode, and it was super weird. Literally at the end of this episode, I believe, is when her and Mario took a break. And they're divorced. They're not together. So,
Oh, yeah, I guess we should talk about the actual episode.
Oh, yeah, the episode. And then, we didn't even talk about Sonia, but go ahead, yeah.
We forgot about Sonia. Tell us about Sonia, and then we'll do the episode.
Well, I mean, her tagline is, sometimes Sonia has to go commando. What can I say?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I give everybody nicknames, and as partly as a way to help Mickey navigate, like, who everybody is, and I called her the horny one.
Yeah, the horny one. Well, she's the one that was married to Morgan, JP Morgan. So, she's just a hot mess and amazing. And I would love to be her best friend.
She does seem like, I'm sorry, Sonia seems like the type of person that could plan a really fun trip to like Cuba.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, we might not come back, but we would have a great time over there. Yes, absolutely. And Aviva, how can we not mention Aviva? The episode is named after Aviva, ultimately.
And, okay, when I saw the title of the episode that it was The Last Leg, I never thought in a million years that there would be an actual leg involved in it. I just thought it was like a clever finale title.
So I had to cross-reference with two of my good friends who are, Housewives fanatics, and both of them, when the one I was talking to, she helped me narrow it down. And the other one, I was like, hey, I'm going on this podcast. I have to talk about, my favorite episode of all time. Can you guess what I'm talking about? And he immediately knew exactly which episode. And then he was like, or the table. And I'm like, yeah, not the table. I was, my second runner up was the table flip with Teresa in New Jersey, the Housewives. But that was so early on in their season that the characters hadn't really cultivated. And it was, when I watched the episode, it wasn't that interesting. The end was fun, but the episode itself wasn't as captivating. This one overall was much more dramatic. Overall,
there's a lot happening.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. So
it starts out with just a random injury that we had no idea happened in the last episode.
And how dare Harry?
Harry's a fucking weasel. They just need to cut him out of all of their lives.
He is so awful. Did you research Harry?
No, I didn't research anybody because I knew you did all of it and I wanted to hear you tell me.
Yeah. So Harry, he has a lot of money. Harry's got a lot of money. Harry has literally dated all of them. At one point in time, Harry has dated Sonia, Luann, Aviva. I think Aviva. I don't know, all of them. So yeah, we leave with Luann.
What did the horny one think about his sex?
What'd you say?
What did the horny one think about his sex?
Oh, she doesn't really divulge because I think she likes everybody think all the sex is the best, with her. Oh. So she thinks she's just a Ferris wheel that everybody gets to ride or whatever. But I just he gave her this giant quote unquote promise ring to make a commitment, which is my favorite. It's a promise to make a promise.
I yelled at the screen. I was like, right? Are you a fucking junior in high school?
No, they're 60. So that's even crazy. Better, right? They're 60-year-old millionaires in the swankiest clubs in New York, and they're handing out promise rings. And so then she walks away and he goes and sees Luann, her like good old chum, her friend. And Luann's like, I'm newly single.
I'm single now.
I'm single now. And the next thing you know, they're off in a cab. And then, here's where Luann, when they talked about it, her and Sonia, when they finally talked about it, did you hear how she was gaslighting Sonia? And she goes, well, let's talk about why your man left you.
Yeah, it's that defensive turning it around.
I was so mad.
Very sus.
Yeah, I was really mad because I'm like, she is yelling at you for leaving with her like hopeful boyfriend. He promised to do something. Maybe he obviously didn't promise to leave with her because he didn't. So that ring wasn't that. But like he promised to do something, and your like good friend leaves with him, and now you're gonna turn it around on her that she can't keep the man. That's not it.
Her assistant fucking fueling the fire.
Pickles? Which assistant though? I mean, I love it. She's
the male assistant, not Pickles. The male assistant.
Okay, okay. Well, this is like the end of the episode. I do have the transcript to her speech for the party. Because then, all right, so what do we have next? We have the injury. She sprained her ankle chasing after the taxi to chase after her supposed promised lover and her friend.
Oh, my favorite part about Sonia in the injury scene is she asked them to change the dish towel because it's not aesthetically pleasing. But I kind of feel that because if I'm injured and unhappy and I got to look at an ugly towel and it's an easy switch that can make me happier,
That entire townhouse is full of mold. Like, who cares what the towel is like? I mean, that townhouse has not been actually taken care of. Like, so years later, you see episodes and like wallpaper is like falling off. She's trying to sell it. I mean, so her worrying about the dish towels, delightful.
It's as if all the stories that we've read or seen about weird rich people, they're all true. Like, she's gone from Gossip Girl to Green Gables.
Great Gardens. I was trying to get there. I was trying to get around to Grey Gardens. Thank you for that. You were
working your way there. But how many assistants do you need and how many interns do you need to get there?
There seemed to be a lot of importance placed on assistants in every episode that I watched because somebody was hiring an assistant, and then this lady has at least two assistants that I saw.
Yeah, she's got at least Pickles and the other guy who
was caught the fire.
Caught the whole taxi situation. Well, and then I mean, let's be honest, we have a party at the end for Team Sonia. So
for her facialist, and all of her friends seem so suspect of all of her entire team.
Yes,
they're all so mean to each other. Why are they friends?
Some of them are not. I mean, it's casting. It's who you know, and then they're like, oh, she would be really good for this because she's kind of outgoing. It's like there's a lot of people I know that I'm not actually friends with, and I could be like, oh my gosh, they'd be really good character for such and such because I kind of know of them in a social circle or, and I think that that's how they get related. Like Luann, Ramona, and Sonia, I think we're actually like friends. Mm-hmm. And then the others kind of get brought in through, each other, and then you go out and you come back in, and, this is season 6. So, there's so many characters because some go on 1 or 2 seasons and then they see the repercussions and they're like, I'm out. People hate me. America hates me.
This is way before this episode, but I have to know what the geocaching drama was in Montana. Do you remember?
No,
because they reference it so fucking much, and I just wanted to geocache, and like, god damn, I
don't remember. No, because I didn't go back. I don't remember, and I watch like pretty much every single housewife. So like after a while,
you can
you can only retain how many times each relationship broke up and how they got mad at each other. And like, you know, I basically hold it till next week, and then I like release all of last week's energy, you know, and I keep all the, you know, that current week's in. I do not remember, but I do know that everybody is super mad at Aviva for not going to Montana. But because, I mean, but wait, she explained she didn't go to Montana because she had
asthma. But moderate to severe
asthma, right? Moderate to severe asthma. And it was caused by reflux.
Yes, not mold, not stress. Well, how can I remember like every piece of dialogue from this show?
How does reflux cause asthma?
I don't know, but then she later said her doctor lied to her, but I couldn't figure out what.
But that was a joke. She was joking.
Oh, okay.
They were all like, you lied to us. You don't have this. You don't have asthma, blah, blah, blah. So she's like, you know what? My doctor lied to me. Look, I don't. And that's when she threw like all the doctor reports at Heather.
She had fucking x-rays at a fucking party.
Normally these girls bring like binders to the reunions, which we all call receipts. No, she came with her actual medical records. Did you hear those? Sonia pull out the one. She goes, is this her boobs? Or like, is this her boob job or is these her lungs? Like, and laughing at like the x-ray of her lungs. It was, I wrote this down. Yes, my doctor lied to me. And she pulled out the chest x-rays. And then that's when Sonia says, are those her lungs or a boob job? And then Aviva starts to hand out her doctor's business card.
Yes.
To everyone at the table and says, call him yourself and ask him. So the reason that she's saying this is everyone's mad that Aviva is lying, which I don't know why, because they hate her anyway. So like, why are they mad she didn't go to Montana? I'm just like, why aren't they just like, thanks?
It was one of those, we're being forced to do this, so why doesn't she have to?
Probably, but you'd think they'd just be like, okay, thanks for not coming because this is going to make it easier on the rest of us, but that isn't what happened. So she doesn't go to Montana, the group trip, the girls trip, because she supposedly has asthma, supposedly brought on by reflux. Which
is that a thing that they do every year? Because another thing that was really confusing to my brain is they kept bitching. This is an earlier episode, not the one that we're watching, but I'm just getting clarification. They kept bitching at Kristen for not being a good hostess. So it was like, do they go on a girls trip every year and then somebody else
all the time? Oh my God, Salt Lake, they're so mad. They're so mad because the one girl is getting indicted. So a couple weeks ago, the one girl's like, here we are going to California because we can't leave the country. So mad because usually they'll go like on a fun trip to the Bahamas or I don't know, Miami. Okay, so this is my new favorite. You need to start watching The Real Housewives of Miami. It is on Peacock. The episodes, it's currently in the newest season and they're coming out every Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
It is messy. We are going through a really bad divorce right now and it's Miami. So it's like, there's some local stuff. They go to the Keys. They literally go to a resort I went to 2 years ago, right? During COVID. I'm like, I stayed in that room. I was like, I didn't know dogs are allowed at that resort. But they keep calling it Key West, and I am yelling at the TV because it's in Marathon. It's not actually Key West. But Miami is a really good episode, and there's some really, really crazy stuff going on. And she's the tennis player, and I can never pronounce her name right. Martina
Navratilova.
Yeah. Her and her wife are on it. Her wife is one of the wives. So Martina, they probably aren't going to make it. They're fighting this season. It's not good. But yeah, so Miami's really, really good. I don't know why I went there, but I kind of sidetracked. But watch that one, Peacock.
Peacock has some surprisingly good shows. People are sleeping on Peacock.
They are?
I was mad at them for a while because they would show Saturday Night Live in this weird, disjointed fashion, but they fixed it this season, so I'm not mad at them anymore.
Well, there you go. Good for you. Yeah, so back, like, Aviva, I guess, didn't go to Montana because she has asthma, which is caused by acid reflux. So then she yelled at all the girls. The girls are mad at her for not going, and they're saying she's lying. So this whole episode is just basically, we hate Aviva. Aviva's lying. And then they throw around Munchausens, which this is actually the second Housewives franchise that this has been there's been a Munchausens conspiracy. Beverly Hills, when David Foster's ex-wife Yolanda Foster, she was a model. David Foster, he's that piano guy. He writes all the songs for, like, Whitney.
Oh yeah.
And he's married to what's her face now, that young American Idol girl, or Catherine McPhee.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
She's actually another one very talented. Don't sleep on Catherine McPhee.
Well, before he married Catherine McPhee, he was married to Yolanda Foster, who is a Real Housewives, and she is like a German model. And then she had a whole season of being accused of having Munchausen. So that was an interesting thing. So this is second franchise with Munchausens. So yeah, I guess she doesn't go, and then they all get mad at her, and so she starts throwing doctor reports, doctor cards all over the place. But then my favorite, I mean, this is where it all leads up to. Like, I mean, I want to go to this party.
She had to be pressured, and like the producers had to be like, probably, if it gets heated, do this.
Some of these women know what it takes to earn a paycheck. If you don't perform, you don't get asked back necessarily. You can become a friend of.
I've never really thought about that, like the cast members of these shows as like a job or a way to earn money. I just thought it was like something to laugh at. But
it is for us, but for them, if they don't have a storyline, when they cut to them, like, it's boring to watch them just like bake cookies with their kids in the kitchen. Like, nobody, you know what I mean? I'm not tuning in for that. I want you to do what Aviva did. This is what I want. And I mean, so Aviva, okay, so we didn't even talk about this. Aviva, do you know why she has, so Aviva has a prosthetic leg. Do you know why she has a prosthetic leg?
No, but it is the most beautiful fucking prosthetic leg I've ever seen in my entire life.
It is. So did you watch the episodes where she was with that Boston bomber? Yeah. So she took that girl from the Boston attacks and was helping get her a prosthetic. So, I mean, yay for Aviva. Like, good for her. She paid for her prosthetics. And I guess Aviva has quite a few prosthetics because of the different shoes you wear. I mean, I've never even thought of that. I had to even think.
Her prosthetic leg looks better than my real leg.
Seriously. Right? Like, really, it looks really nice. So she has a prosthetic leg because she was in a farming accident when she was a young child.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So when she was only 6 years old, so she, I guess, got caught up in some farming equipment and had to have her leg amputated. So she has no leg from, like, I guess, the knee down. And so while they were at the table and they're all screaming that you're fake, Aviva, you're fake. Well, I mean, it was like, you tell lies, you're fake. I mean, she did the most amazing thing ever.
Really?
Like, how would you ever top this at a party?
Unless you had another fake leg, you can't.
You can't. No. So I did write down exactly kind of like what happened. So I said they all sit back down. Aviva gets mad again and tosses her medical records across the table. Heather gets mad and yells, "This isn't worth my time." And she stands up, right? She's standing up. "This isn't worth my time." And then Heather says, "You say that you're really hurt by us. You say that you have never lied to any of us at the table, and you find us really hurtful. I find that laughable." Aviva turns to Heather and says, "Now, mind you, did you notice everybody in the party is surrounding the table, staring at them? Like, everyone. So it's just them.
It's like they're in a fishbowl.
Correct. It's just those women at a table, and then everyone else is just like
All of Sonia's team watching.
Like their hands are on their cheeks. They're like, what's going to happen next? Aviva then says, let me tell you something, Heather. The only thing that is artificial or fake about me is this. And she picks her leg up and slams it on the table.
It's a very loud slam, too.
Like, it's the most amazing slam.
The glasses shit clank. It's great.
It's so great. She keeps yelling, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of all of you accusing me. Everything else is real. I'm sick of being called fake. Then she throws it across the floor and across the table and onto the floor. And it is now 15 feet away from her?
Yeah. And Kristen's like, I'm going to vomit. And I was kind of rooting on her to throw up because that literally would have been the cherry on it.
Do you know that, if you go into your phone and search her name under the GIFs, the GIFs, you'll find it, her on her leg? It's a thing.
Awesome.
It's a thing. There's multiples, but it's a thing. Yeah. And then my favorite is Luann says, they say this is the last straw because she was in her confessional, off to the side, not there. She goes, they say this is the last straw. No, this is the last leg.
I think Luann was probably the best at the confessionals that I saw in general. She was always moving the story forward, and she normally did it in a more intelligent fashion than I saw.
Have you Googled her? Girl's been arrested in Palm Beach. She's
for what?
Not something with her ex-husband, not leaving him, screaming outside the hotel or something. Something like that. Just, classy stuff.
Probably drunk.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Absolutely. You should see the mugshot. Yeah. So then after she this whole episode leads up to her throwing her leg. I mean, it's the last leg.
Yeah.
This is the last episode before the reunions.
They have a weird 80s movie thing where they give you what everybody's up to. And when I read them, some of them didn't even seem like English.
Oh, I wrote them all down.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So right before all that happened, my favorite was she goes, now crawl home. That's what you want from me. And she screamed that at Heather, and Heather's like, yeah, I want you to crawl home. That's what I want. That's exactly what I want. I want you to crawl home. Aviva was in it for the drama. Aviva was like, if I'm throwing this leg, I am putting on an Oscar-worthy performance, and I'm winning, and it's the night. She's like, it's the last night of the season. We're done. So then we have Heather, because Heather's getting yelled at by Aviva. So then it stops and says, Heather is currently developing Bossy Pants, a full-length legging for her Tummy by TH line, which I thought was really funny because you know why she's calling it Bossy Pants, right?
Because she's a boss.
Well, and because what's her face, Kristen and her got in the argument because Kristen called her bossy when they were in Montana.
Here's another question that I have in general. Why do they spell so many things out? Why do they keep spelling out boss? And there was another word that they spelled out. I'm like, why are you spelling this out? It's not a bad word. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, I didn't even pay attention to that.
Yeah, almost every time they said boss in the 4 episodes that we watched, they spelled it out. It was very strange.
Oh, that's weird. I didn't even notice that. I'll have to go back and rewatch that and figure that out. I'll call Andy Cohen and see if I can find out.
Yes, please do.
So now she's going to make she's basically going to make money off of being called a bossy bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Which I like that she's kind of throwing that back in Kristen's face, and maybe Kristen can model them. Oh, that's funny. And then after further consultation, this was sad. Jack's underwent a less invasive procedure to help with his hearing loss. Heather continues to look to the future with a smile, blah, blah, blah. That's real,
yeah.
Her kid.
That one made sense. That one my brain could compute.
Yeah. So evidently her kid had some hearing issues. So that was just kind of follow up. And then Kristen signed with New York Models, where her high mileage high mileage kept her career from getting her back on track. She and Josh worked to continue their communication. And Kristen loves being on a billboard. Shocker.
Okay, can we talk about that scene where she's doing the photo shoot for the billboard and they like tease her with the panties and the underwear and then make her fake orgasms?
Okay, can we talk about it? Those faces that were finally made, I mean, were those faces? Because those look like a regular face to me.
Yeah. It looked like she was trying to be sexy. And obviously she was trying to be sexy because she kept saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting into it too much." And,
yeah,
she made my skin crawl.
It really, that whole photo shoot weirded me out.
And then the final product was terrible.
The whole thing weirded me out. It was all awful. Where's eBoost now?
What do orgasms have to do with cell phones?
Is that what we were selling?
I don't know. What is eBoost?
I don't know. I think it was a drink. I think it's an energy drink. You're selling cell phones.
I don't know. Well,
I think he has an energy drink. I think it's an energy drink.
That's a fucking terrible name. Don't call it eBoost. That is like a tech thing.
It is a great life lesson. If you cannot succeed on your own, bully your way into a job.
It reminded me of every single one of Don Draper's wives on Mad Men.
It was the whole thing was very uncomfortable. I didn't like any of it. I wasn't really liking any of her photos either. Fell flat for me. Sorry, Kristen, but her whole season fell flat for me. It was very like, I'm just fighting with my husband and I'm a housewife, but I'm more than that. I'm a model. And
I got nothing from her.
Also, a very, very, very important lesson can be taken from this episode, at least the 3 episodes that we watched, culminating into the season finale for this. If you or your partner go into couples therapy with the concept or thought of winning the therapy, just skip over it all and file for divorce because...
Oh my God, I forgot about that episode. That was like 1 or 2 episodes before the last leg, like before the leg. I mean, yeah. That was horrible. He is like, and I'm like, all for guys, like, yeah, let's go to therapy because they're going to tell you you're wrong and they're going to agree with me. And I punch my TV so hard.
It's like they both had the idea that they were going to win instead of the reason for therapy is to basically have a translator there because, you know, in the grand scheme of things, unless you absolutely hate your partner and you're at the step of let's go to therapy, it's there to, you guys are working towards the same goal and you just need someone to help you on the path. But if you're going in there, you know, facing off and the therapist is the referee, then don't even bother.
It was a waste of money. A big waste of money. And a waste of their time because I forgot. I forgot to write it down. Did you see the sweatshirt she wore that she went to the therapy session?
I did. And it was
something about like love.
I remember noting it, but I don't remember what it said. Yeah,
I felt like it was really passive aggressive.
Yeah.
The way that she, well, like I said, they're still together. So
that blows my mind.
Me too. I Googled that the other day and I was like, well, you know what? Good for them. Good for them. You know, everybody grows. That was like many, many years ago. So
True.
She's
almost
10 years older. He's and I think he was about 10 years older than her to begin with. So he's probably in his 50s now. She's, I think, in her 40s, so maybe they've figured things out and maybe she's not so thirsty and because she was thirsty to like be a model and like be known in New York and
I felt like she was looking for an identity because she didn't have one within herself yet. So
you know what though? She said that she did have the identity, and he just ripped her across the United States multiple times, and she just had to go with it. Which,
well, then she needed to get it back.
And she needed to get it back, and that is not an easy thing, especially when if you have kids and all that. Like, it's not an easy thing to try and reestablish yourself as just a regular person, then a mom, and then a working person. You know, so I mean, the minute he's like, "Oh, we're moving to California," and she's like, a month later, I'm packing and we're moving, and then he did the same thing when they came back to New York. I can see where that is, where she can lose herself, because he's chasing business. She's just chasing him, and he's staying at work late night.
Yeah. She feels like a Don Draper wife. He did not feel like Don Draper at all, but she felt like a 1950s housewife to me.
Yeah. That didn't cook.
Oh, and I don't remember if this was the episode or I think it was the who had the Carol's apartment with no kitchen.
Okay, yeah, she had the before we talk about the no kitchen, she had the kitchen removed, but there's still a kitchen. There was like a little, like, there was like, it was like a kitchenette.
Tiny.
I would say it was equivalent to like an efficiency.
Yeah, it was like tinier than a galley kitchen. It was,
right. Did you see her staircase?
Yes, I would die every day.
My husband's like, I don't think that's up to code. There's no railing. There's no railing. And it's just like floating steps along the side of the wall, up the loft. Like,
I would die every day.
After one or a few drinks, bloop, over. Yeah, I don't think that was up to code either. So
literally yesterday, I walked upstairs to watch this, and I came up into the little TV room that we have. And I said, do you ever walk upstairs and your brain tells you to skip a step, but then it doesn't reach your foot until like you're halfway up the step and then you feel like you're going to fall backwards down the steps? That just happened to me. So I would definitely die on those stairs.
Oh, yeah. Her steps were very, very, very dangerous. Wild. Yeah. It was a floating staircase with no railing in a New York City loft. Like, clearly she has no children.
Okay, so who caught up with Kristen and her billboard, the terrible billboard? Who's next?
So then right after that, it cuts to back to the party. It goes back to everybody at the party looking at Aviva's leg, and then you hear somebody pick that up. And it cuts to the leg on the floor, and then Carol picks up the leg and then like walks over and hands it to Aviva.
It was totally a bitch to her too.
She was. Yeah, she was yelling at her about the leg. But at least she gave her the leg.
You need some help.
Aviva, it would not have been fun for Aviva to get up and get the leg herself.
No.
So and then that segued into Carol's update. So that's when it froze onto Carol, and I was like, The Widow's Guide to Sex and Dating was released to rave reviews. Carol continues to navigate age, single world, and is still fabulous at 50. So, not much.
That's a good one, though. I feel like they diminish.
It doesn't make me want to come back and watch Carol's season next year. Sorry. But okay. And then it goes into Ramona. There was some more banter. There's more leg party banter, but it was all at this point so beyond. Nothing was going to live up to somebody pick that up. And then it said Ramona, while it hasn't been effortless, because the song that Mario sang to Ramona at the cabaret.
Oh, God damn it. How did I not pick up on that?
That's what that was.
Jesus Christ.
Effortless was the song that he so nicely sang to his wife at the cabaret or at the whatever that place was. It was like open mic. It was like an open mic night. While it hasn't been exactly effortless, Ramona and Mario are currently working together and working on their marriage. They're currently divorced right now. Like in this year and day and age, they're divorced. Despite
that's because Mario was spending way too much time with the piano player. There were a few glances and exchanges and looks and crotch pats as they walked past each other.
I think Mario's straight though, so I think he's a ladies' man, and I think he went for the younger ladies.
I think he might be one of those.
He could go
too much.
Well, he could also, but in the tabloids, what has come out is younger.
Oh, like young?
Yeah, not like crazy young, but younger than Ramona. I mean, but if you look at Ramona now, like if you were to Google what Ramona looks like now, she looks amazing. She's in her 60s. She can wear a bikini. She is gorgeous. She's had work done, but she hasn't had like too much work done where she looks horrible and looks really, just plasticky.
Yeah, I think she's the one that had the best boob job out of all of them.
Yeah, she's done very well for herself, and especially after Mario and her split, then she was like, okay, well, it's time for me to get my life together. And so she's hot to trot now. So she goes on to say, despite their tumultuous family situation, Avery, their daughter, managed to bring home straight A's her freshman year of college. Oh, because we didn't talk about that. Is Avery is Ramona's best friend, and Avery went off to college.
The episode before was her crying as she went to college.
And like trying to pack however many shoes were needed. Yada, yada. Yeah. Like 2 days before.
2 days before.
Yeah, it was 2 days before. Yeah. Yep. That's when you pack. So, and I think she went to college in Atlanta. So she was not actually going to be nearby. So, I mean, I guess if the tears were warranted when you send your kid off far away. She hasn't known anybody. I mean, she is only child. Avery's her only daughter.
I didn't cry when Dee went to college.
Really?
Yeah. I was happy for her. Like, she was moving up.
I'm going to cry. I'm a crier.
I thought I might because, like, Dee was my only daughter, my only kid. And, like, we grew up together because I had her when I was 17. So, like, it was me and her against the world for a long time. But I was excited for her to go dance. Because, like, what's she going to do? Like, she's got a friend that she's known since they were, like, 10 who still hasn't left the house. And she's, like, almost 30 now. Like, she still lives with her parents. She doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, you don't want that. Yeah,
no.
You definitely want them to go, but like, I don't know, it could be sad. I'll cry when that little boy over there leaves. Sure I will. One day. So then it goes, and then the last but not least is Sonia. Dear Sonia, with the dismissal of Harry and the recent sale of her chateau in France, to help pay her debt, Sonia is cleaning house and things are definitely looking up. Team Sonia is currently accepting resumes for potential interns, dog psychics, and mystics.
You know what? I think that she broke up or she let Harry go in a really mature way and telling him that I'm not ending a 25-year relationship. I'm saying that I am ending the possibility of commitment from you. I feel like I have a good 10 years of marriage left in me. And at that time, if you still want to get together, I'll be here.
And then she does that. Sonia is hot to trot. You should see in like newer episodes, she's with like younger men. Like she don't care. And she actually has in the last like year and a half to 2 years has had amazing plastic surgery and looks so good. Like she looks amazing. She's beautiful. But yeah, like Harry's not worth it. I mean, Harry was one of those, he's a New York socialite. He's known up there. Like he's got money. And so, they all end up in the same pool. Hence why I think they used to date, years prior. And then he dated, I think, Aviva at one point. He dated Luann. I mean, it's just, incestuous, once you get in like a small circle, people. So
and the small circle that Mickey and I met in, I was best friends with the person he was dating when we met like 20 goddamn years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
and still good friends with another one I dated.
Oh yeah, I still talk to one of your exes every day. I talk to Molly every single day.
when you run in a small circle, I mean, that, tight doesn't always work out for everybody, but it's weird how but then they kept like overlapping, and then him leaving with Luann. Like, it's one thing if you like dated and then like you're not dating anymore.
Yeah.
But Luann does some.
Speaking of Luann, they didn't give her a little 80s movie card.
No, because she's a friend of this season. She got demoted. So in the beginning, she did not have a tagline. And so she didn't get a card because she was not one of the quote-unquote cast. She was a friend of only this season. She was in the cast the season before and in the season after. But supposedly they demoted her this season because she did not live within the city of New York.
Oh, very strict guidelines.
Standards, yeah.
I know. Well, now there's like talk of other ones moving into other cities to possibly join different casts.
I love learning about the intricacies of things like this. I feel weird calling him my friend, but my author person that I know, Chad Kulchin, at the beginning of the pandemic, I guess it was, wrote a book where he and his partner watched every single episode of The Bachelor and took like extensive notes and did like statistics on it and wrote a book called How to Win the Bachelor, and using those statistics to tell a potential Bachelor player how to go on the show, the moves you need to make to win the show.
Oh, wow.
And like, I don't give a shit about The Bachelor, but reading that book and all of the intricacies about the casting process and how it all works is fascinating. And now I feel like there's something similar here with this. Like, there's so much I don't know about, and there's so much to learn.
Well, then the Housewives, now that they're like established within those cities, it's more or less them giving a reference, right? Or saying like, oh, I know somebody, she runs in this circle, she'd probably be good for it, and like in New York, they're trying to get a lot of new blood in because stuff went bad last year. Because there was one girl of color, and then like the things that Ramona was saying were very off color, not really PC, and very privileged, and it just there was a lot of like rubbing, so there was a lot of fallout online and social media, so they're like, yeah, we're gonna spin things differently. But if it's a new city, then there's gonna have some sort of casting. But for the most part, if they're the cities that are already existed, they're like, who's your friend, like who do you already know, because they don't want you to be a stranger, because then you're not going to be able to relate to these women. You know what I mean? But if you're already friends with like one or like two of the girls, then you're going to be able to like go and have drinks and feel comfortable and then slide in. But then you're going to see, maybe you're going to become friends with the other two girls more, and then turn your back on so-and-so who brought you in, with, yada, yada. So you should really catch up on Salt Lake, because last season was really good. That was another one of my contenders, because the girl who is going currently up for indictment, I think she was supposed to be indicted on the 15th, but I think they pushed it to January. She last season, the FBI actually raided their van, their Sprinter van that they were going on vacation with, and she got a phone call. Somebody called and tipped her off. She got out of the Sprinter van, left. Next thing you know, SWAT shows up from like New York in Salt Lake City, and they're like, "Where is she at?" And they're all like, "We don't know. She went to the bathroom." They're like, "Oh, she said she had to go home. Her husband was in the hospital." Because she's like, "Oh, I gotta call my husband's surgery. I need to go." And she left. Yeah, crazy.
So okay. Before we wrap up, I know that you had a very extensive process to get to the episode that you chose, and I would like to hear about it.
Oh, well, it was texting my two good friends. It was like thinking back, I'm like, what are the monumentals? There was the one I just told you about, Jen Shaw getting the FBI, but that's like so new that it's not iconic yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then iconic is Teresa from New Jersey. They say flipping the table. She really like pushes the table up, which then therefore like folds the rest of the table. Nothing actually flips, but food goes everywhere. But that episode was really like mellow until you got to that ending.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there wasn't a lot of like drama, and it was very I don't know, it was like their first episode. So I don't think any of those housewives knew how to like actually act and talk in a like in their confessionals, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it wasn't as exciting. Yeah, I mean, it was really only between like it was either Aviva throwing her leg or we table flipping. And I watched both of them and I'm like, it's definitely Aviva wins. And I think Aviva, that might have been the only episode, the only season that Aviva was on. I'd have to Google to see if she's been on.
Yeah, they did not seem to like her at all, period, end of story.
No.
Nothing about her.
I think she was, I think that was her only, seasons 5 and 6. Okay, so that was her last season. And then they do, you know, like probably what? I didn't even watch them. 3 episodes of the reunion. So God only knows how much drama there is to listen to and catch up on that.
Like when I saw that the episode was 3, or the reunion was 3 episodes, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. They usually go 2, sometimes 3. There might have been a 4-parter.
Holy crap.
But like when they bring out like New Jersey and they bring out the husbands, because in New Jersey, the husbands are pretty much half of the show themselves. They're hilarious. The husbands in New Jersey are hilarious. They make that show worth watching. And that one is about coming out. They just put out the trailer. So Jersey's about to pop off.
That's wild. Like I get frustrated at Survivor if the reunion is more than like 45 minutes. I'm like, I'm done with these people. I'm done.
I know.
But I guess the cast doesn't change every year.
My husband was like, why do you just want to listen to these women yell at each other? And I'm like, this is so much fun. I'm like, shut up, I can't hear them.
Did we do the thing, Nikki?
Well, first we'll go through and say we know Tracy through our association with Big Tim Murphy. I think we've told the story how Jackie got started making lollipops.
Yeah.
And we would end up at Tracy sells party patches at the fairs and like craft fairs and stuff like that. And several times we ended up with a table right next to her. And like anything, if you have good neighbors, then, you know, everything is a lot easier. And I think she was one of the best, taking nothing away from Deviant Dolls because Linda's a sweetheart, but by far one of the best neighbors that we've ever had during our encounters with trying to deal with the public, because both Jackie and I are autistic, and having Tim as a partner doing his song and dance and collecting money for lollipops was great. And doing it next to you all those years and all those times made it even better. So thank you for being a good neighbor and a good business partner. And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. I loved it. I loved how I met you guys. I remember that street very well. I remember exactly where our tents were.
I do too. Like, I feel like I could walk to the place without even thinking about it.
It's right outside of Sunshine State Threads now.
Yep.
And
we moved to Michigan, so we weren't at the Bad at Business Beer Fest this year, but we were with Tim, and I thought that was really cool that we were still together on the day of the beer fest.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I don't actually sell that stuff like in tents anymore, because now I just go and like enjoy it. I'm like, they don't pay me enough. But I did, and now I go away a lot for Thanksgiving when they do have that festival, so I haven't been around in town, but I loved it when I was doing it. It's one of my favorite things to do. Yeah. And now I do, just instead of like working those events, I like just hanging out. But I'll be your neighbor any day.
One more question before we get out of here. When you're watching a show, like when you're doing a binge, do you skip
intro?
The intro. Why can't I remember the word intro? Do you skip the word? Do you skip the intro, or do you watch the intro?
If I'm doing a binge and going straight through, I try to skip the intro if I can grab the remote quickly. But usually I'm fighting like the dogs on top of me. I can't find the remote and I can't hit skip intro. But yeah, I mean, it helps though, because I have a very short memory.
All right. Well, this is the awkwardest part of the show when I try to end it. So I'm going to let Mickey do that today because I have not in me.
Okay, so this is a show that was completely out of our wheelhouse, completely out of our imagination. I would take Gossip Girls, and I didn't realize that how close Gossip Girls was to real, actual Housewives of New York. And but every now and then, explore outside of your realm. You might find a nugget of brilliance. Whether you think it's just screaming ladies or not, it could be a lot of fun. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Tracy, for joining us. And that's about all we have.
Bye.
Bye.
The only thing that is artificial or fake about me. This.